Hi, and welcome to the Growth Talks podcast. It's a place where we discuss growth. It's a place where you can find tools, techniques, advice, suggestions, and so much more on personal and professional growth coming from different experts in these areas. My name is Snezhana, and I'm a business coach and a leadership trainer and your host for today. And it is a pleasure to introduce my guest for today. She's a fellow coach and so much more. But I'm going to let her do her own introduction. Ivie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Snezhana. It's great being here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So just to have a brief introduction, my name is Ivie. I am a wife. I'm a mother of 3. I educate my children. I'm also a brand identity designer, interior designer, and lifestyle coach / designer. And tandem to that, I host women's retreats too.
And we're going to be talking about that a little bit throughout this podcast. But there was a very, you mentioned it right now, and then I read it on your website as well. You say you're a brand, interior, and a lifestyle designer. So can you share a little bit more how you came up with that, and what does it really mean?
So I actually have a background in chemical engineering. I studied chemical engineering at university. However, after graduating and starting my family, I realized that was not the right career to get into at the time. And I decided to branch into graphics and branding simply because I'm an artist, right? At heart, that's what my first love was really growing up. And I thought that I could easily transition my artistic skills into digital skills and help brands in terms of, how they present themselves and how they can elevate themselves online.
Right.
That's for the branding aspect. I did that for about 10 years. And then I realized that, not that I was like getting bored of branding, but I felt a desire to make a change. And interior design is something that has always been in my heart to do at some point in my life. And I decided, is it a thing where I wanted to completely stop branding and just transition fully into interiors? Or could I do both at the same time? So when I realized that there is actually a lot of branding involved with interior design,
right?
Whether it's designing interiors for a residential home, it's about how the client wants to present themselves and how they want to feel in their home, and so much more than that. When it's commercial design, same thing. How do you translate your branding into your physical space? So that's when I realized that I didn't need to completely stop my branding work. I could do both at the same time, and they work really well together.
Right.
When it comes to the lifestyle design or lifestyle coaching, I realized that over the last few years, because of the decisions that I've made, because of the very unconditional lifestyle that I live alongside of my family, I've actually been coaching a lot of women in my network, and it was done in a very informal way. However, I did realize that a lot of them were coming to me to ask me questions and advice, and the advice that I was giving them was actually impacting them. So that's when I really realized that, okay, there's something here. There is a way I can help more women that I don't know yet. There's a way that I can make a broader impact. And I am really passionate about helping women elevate their lives and really live the life that they deserve to live. And that's when it really dawned on me that a retreat could be a great way to start doing that, because I love to travel. I love getting women together and have a good time. And it really felt like the right thing to do. However, I wasn't too sure. So I wanted to test it by introducing the idea to the women that I know, the woman immediate network, and literally everyone said that they would be interested in attending. So that's what gave me the confidence to actually start this. And the first one was in May last year, and the next one is going to be in October this year.
Oh, right. And so it's a couple of days somewhere nice where women can gather and work together towards becoming or creating a more fulfilling life, right? I mean, it's in a nutshell, right?
But yes, essentially.
Okay. All right. In your retreat, you focus on 3 aspects of life pretty much, and that's health, career, and relationships. How did you choose those 3 areas, or why those 3 areas?
When I was thinking about the program that I wanted to create, I really wanted to emphasize on what I believe are 3 core pillars in our lives. So when I talk about it's, emotional health, physical health, also your spiritual health, depending on what that looks like for you. Then relationships, that's your nuclear family, extended family, your friendships, and your external relationships, whether that's work relationship or whatever that is for you. And then when it comes to your career, that's basically regardless of what it is you're doing, whether you're a career woman working 9 to 5, whether you're an entrepreneurial woman, or whether you were a stay-at-home woman, because that's a career of its own. We look into those 3 pillars to see what's working in those areas of your lives, and then what's not working in those areas of your lives. And looking at your values and setting the right boundaries, I show you how you can really create and design a life that you really want to live, the life that you deserve to live, based on what freedom to you as a woman.
That sounds amazing. Can you share a little bit more about the retreat? And then I have additional questions.
Okay, so just general information for the retreat. It's going to be 4 nights, 5 days in Ibiza from the 7th to the 11th of October this year, 2024. And it's an amazing, amazing environment. It's a 5-star, all-inclusive, adult-only hotel. And it's really an environment that fosters creativity, that fosters it genuinely brings together women that are focusing on improving their lives, elevating their lives, fostering a great network of women, new friendships, opportunities, and it's really a catalyst for transformation.
Yeah, I love that you said. Oh, sorry about. Go ahead.
That's the generic description or information for the retreat.
And we'll share the link to your site where the people can find more information. So in case you want to learn more about the retreat or you want to join, we'll share the link in the description so that you can find out more. But I really loved the aspect of community that you said, new friendships, potentially new collaborations or partnerships. You never know what can come out of these relationships and time spent together. But I do agree that it sounds like a very powerful way to look on the inside, but also the outside, and see what you can come up with to improve your life. Speaking of that, given your experience from the last year's retreat, but also your experience professionally, what would you say are some of the common challenges that prevent us or disable us to live a more fulfilling life?
There are so many things to touch on, right? If you're at the time that, but I feel like one main aspect that we struggle with is thinking that we need to balance things out in life, where I think and champion harmony over balance. So the way I like to illustrate this is that you're baking a cake, right? Mm-hmm. When you're baking a cake, you don't use the same amount of flour as sugar, right? Balance doesn't really happen that way. It's more about creating a harmony in life where you evaluate where you are presently at that present moment and think, okay, what do I need right now to function the way I need to function right now based on my responsibilities? So, let me use myself. I home educate 3 children while looking after the home, while planning retreats, right? While taking on external or additional projects, whether that's branding or interior design. So I say, what is my core responsibility? My core responsibility is my home and my children. So that's where most of my time goes into. Then what's next? Right now is the retreat. So I allocate enough time for the retreat planning. And then whatever time I have left, I can now say, okay, I can take in 1 or 2 projects for either interiors or branding. But say I've now planned the retreat and everything is in motion, and I don't need as much time for the retreat, I can now say, okay, now I can take more interior projects, or now I can take more branding projects. So it's about evaluating where you are in life and really be honest with yourself. Ask yourself those really difficult questions and be bold enough to answer those hard questions to make the bold decisions that you need to make. Because it can be very difficult to perhaps let go of certain things that you want to focus on at a certain time. But it's really about realizing that, okay, we need to prioritize, and what are your priorities right now? So I'd call that harmony rather than balance. Because to me, balance is just not a thing that's realistic in terms of life, or, like work-life balance, or, anything to do with that terminology. So I think that's probably one of the core challenges that we face right now.
That makes sense. And I guess I still call it balance myself, but I have in mind what you just explained. For me, balance, I know the definition is everything is on the same level, but it really, nothing can be 50-50 in life, because that would be really difficult for us to channel our focus and attention to in that way. But balance means maybe 80-20, maybe 70-30, or whatever the percentages are. But there's always one core focus, and then everything else has to kind of go around it or be on hold, depending on what elements or areas of life we're looking into. So, but I like harmony, actually. I'm going to start using that. That sounds way better.
After going through both examples and really thinking about it, for me personally, harmony entails ease, right? Ease and a stressless way of going about things, rather than balance. It feels rigid. It feels very structured. And I really believe that if we approach life in a more harmonious way, things flow a lot easier and we enjoy life more so.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And I love what you just said about the ease. I think my previous podcast episode was about anxiety and stress, and how much, what we can do about it, but also how much of it we create ourselves without maybe sometimes realizing it. But having this, maybe not stress-free, but less stress in our life, or knowing how to handle it so it doesn't escalate and we don't get paralyzed. I feel like it's a challenge, and we're struggling to deal with stress and anxiety. We just decide to kind of move along with it without doing much about it. And then eventually, we burn out, or it leads to different things, but we don't face it. We don't tackle it in any way. So I love the ease part about it.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay. Now, of course, we can work with other people to help us find answers to those difficult questions, make the bold moves. But do you think, is there anything that we can do on our own to help ourselves in the meantime?
Yeah, well, one thing I like to say and advise people on doing is to take a step back. Take a step back and kind of look at your life through an external lens. And I feel like when you do that, take a breather, you start to see the things that really require your attention, and really self-evaluate. It makes self-evaluation a lot easier. And there's nothing more to add to that in the sense of, okay, and then you do A, B, and C, because it's all about what your life looks like. It's all very personal.
Right.
So for helping yourself, taking that step forward for yourself, literally take a step back and relax. Don't take things too hard. Don't be too hard on yourself. And when we really take a break and do a lot of inward work, we really start to pick on the things that need change or need attention or need more of your time, and really take it from there. I feel like that's really the first step to do. If I know realistically we can't really press pause, like we can't stop working, we can't, we can't just literally press pause in life, but it's about letting go of the things that you feel are really pulling you and holding on to in terms of stresses and the things that you feel are making your life a bit difficult. A great way of, like you said recently, I watched one of the videos and you said you took a solo trip. That's a great way to step back and evaluate your life. Just start from there.
Right. I agree. And sometimes I think we believe that it has to be a big move, even with the solo trips. This time I was lucky enough, of course, to afford going. I went to Cyprus, but I couldn't always go to Cyprus. It wasn't always within my means. But even as a young woman, I would go to just any other city in Serbia and explore a little bit, or, I'd volunteer at different summer camps, be with different people. It's not really a solo trip, but it's a different way of exploring.
It can definitely be beneficial. And I like the point you just raised now, volunteering, getting involved with other people, because at the end of the day, solo tripping has a lot to do with learning about other cultures, but you can also do that in your immediate environment by putting yourself amongst people from different cultures. And volunteering is a perfect way of doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I guess what I wanted to add to your step of kind of stepping back, thinking, looking within, it doesn't have to be this 10 or a month of being solo in a cabin somewhere in the woods to be able to find what you're looking for. It can literally be taking 30 minutes in the morning or in the evening, or a trip just to the near town where you act as a tourist and try to figure things out. But I think those are fun. It doesn't have to be this grand gesture for us to feel that we're looking on the inside, we're making a change, because like you said, we can't put things on hold. We can't pause life. So we still have to function. But I think because it paralyzes us thinking, oh, but I don't have the money to do that, or I can't just take a weekend off. You don't have to. That's the point.
Literally be something as small as disciplining yourself to taking a walk every morning or every evening or every day, whenever the right time is for you.
Right.
So take time out, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
If you go on the trip, if you can go on a staycation, but really take your time to remove yourself from an immediate environment, from your home, and things become a lot clearer. Take a walk by yourself, and then you can really reflect on things, or go do some exercise. I don't know, if you go to the gym, that's a great way to clear your head too, and start having those introspective moments, whatever that looks like for you. Many people don't like exercising or going to the gym, so whatever that looks like for you, whatever feels good to you, just try and make the steps towards doing those things.
Agreed. It's really the little things, and I don't think we can stress it enough, but it really is in the details and in small things, because big events in life happen from time to time. It's not something that you would encounter every month, but small things, small events, like getting a cup of coffee by yourself, or inviting a friend you haven't seen in a long time, and just reconnecting the people that really meant something to you and seeing where they are. I feel sometimes that recharges my batteries.
Yeah, and then something else that just came to my mind now is to really look at what meant a lot to you when you were a child, reconnect with your inner child. And that really brings back a lot of memories. Nostalgia is a great way to help calibrate yourself. So is that you used to love doing when you were little. You used to love drawing, you used to love singing, whatever that looks like. If you can really reconnect with that, I believe that it will really be of great benefit to you.
Right. And I guess it helps with the inner child. Sometimes it helps having children around. I get to, so to speak, use my nieces for that, because, they're small and we can play around and you can be silly with them. And it's just nobody looks strangely at you because you're around kids. So you're expected to look silly.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's a great way to step back and just feel free again, and just be as joyful as you can in the moment as well.
Right. It as we're talking, one thing that comes to mind, and I think I saw it also on your website, is this holistic approach to coaching, to life, to just seeing ourselves in our life. Why do you think, or why do you start with this holistic approach? Why does it matter to you, and why should we be thinking about the big picture more rather than the every small little thing that happens?
When I think of holistic approach, I really think of how do we learn to function at the best level possible as individuals. Because if we don't function at our prime individually, then we can't really pour into everything else that we do. Right. So that's the way I approach it. And I feel like for me, it's worked for me. And that's how, I also coach other women to do the same. I really had to look at my life holistically, and I really decided to make a difference by nurturing myself, whatever that looks like, in every aspect. What is it that I stopped doing that I used to love doing? What is it that really fuels me and really makes me the best person I can be right now? And then I realized that when I started doing those things, everything else that pertains to me and my responsibilities, whether that's my home, work, and relationships, my health, really started to improve. And when I kept doing that, I kept feeding myself, so to speak. Everything else was also fed. So that's the way I like to look at it holistically.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It absolutely makes sense. I always say when working with clients through coaching or even doing leadership training, we have to start with ourselves, be it from our routines and habits, so the more obvious things, or looking within and figuring out, like you said, what brings us joy, what are the things that maybe we used to do but not anymore, and why, and are they still beneficial for us? But having this, it's not really self-centered approach, but just starting from yourself, so that you can benefit others. Because if you're not well, how do you expect to help others?
Exactly. Like you said, it's not being self-centered, but it's starting with yourself. And the reason why you even started with yourself, the reason why you're taking these steps to improve yourself is because you're not selfish. It's because you care about everything else that you do. Your family, if you have a family, your relationships, your health, you care about those things. And to really optimize those, you have to really take care of yourself first.
Right. And if you're still not convinced, let me just remind you of what happens when you get sick, because that's when you have to stop, whether you like it or not. And this is, I think, when we realize, oh, had I paid attention to this sign or that sign that my body was showing me, or man, had I slowed down a little bit, I wouldn't have been in this situation right now. But it's kind of in the hindsight. So I think focusing on ourselves first whenever possible is looking into the future rather than looking back to see what we could have done better.
Exactly. We should try to prevent the situations, right? Rather than cure them.
Yeah.
It's very achievable.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Ivie, I'm going to slowly bring this to an end. I guess one of the main points from our chat today is really to look after ourselves first and find what really brings us joy and makes us feel like we're living our life to the fullest potential. And if we're not, then there are so many ways that we can achieve that. But before I wrap up, is there anything that you would like to add or share that I haven't asked or that you find important?
Yes, so I just want to leave a message.
Mm-hmm.
I've always think back to a time when I really realized that I would rather make bold decisions by asking myself really tough questions and avoid regretting not making certain decisions later in life. That's one thing that's always at the forefront of my mind. So what are those things that you feel that if you don't take the step to work on now, you might regret later in life? Because that's one, again, I can't emphasize that enough. That's one thing that really, really stands out to me and pushes always be on top of things, and be on top of every aspect of my life. So I want to leave that message to everyone that's listening. What are those things that you feel you might regret down the road that you can avoid regretting by taking action right now?
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I love that message. I love that message. Yeah. It's super important to think about, what we're missing, or, if you're kind of 60% there, you probably should go ahead and do it, because it's never going to get to 100. We're never going to be 100% certain.
Doesn't exist. Just go ahead and just do it. Yeah.
All right.
And do what you can.
Well, thank you so much, Ivie, for being my guest, for sharing your experience and your knowledge. Once again, we'll share everything about the retreat in the description of the video so you guys can take a look. And if you're interested, feel free to join or email message Ivie for more information. Again, thanks so much. And just to do the logistic part here, if you like the content, like it, subscribe so that we can share more of these things with you. And thank you so much for watching. Ivie, thanks again for being here.
For having me. It was great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.